Look at us.
Tunes going.
Oh.
Let us know if they're too loud, everybody in the crowd. But welcome everyone to A Tale D20's presents Storyboard, the frame-by-frame into the metagame. Tonight, I have a very special interview here with Goblets and Gaze podcast. We have Aubrey. Welcome to the show.
Hello. Hello.
And we also have Aki. Welcome to the show.
Hi.
How's it been since hanging out in the green room where there were donuts and therapists on call and everything you needed before doing a recording of some sort?
Donuts are good.
No, I've been all over the place. I'm surprised I made it here.
Oh my gosh. What happened? What happened in your day that was so chaotic?
So I do community management, and when I tell you that everyone, myself, my coworkers, and like my clients all have had collectively different tech issues that just delayed us all in different ways at different times, at different hours, and different time zones. So like it was chaotic. It was just so chaotic. I think I switched between 3 different workstations, being like my desktop, my my little laptop that's like super old, and then my sister's like Chromebook that she uses for school, just to figure shit out. And then afterwards, I went to the gym for a little too long. I could feel it in the morning, but
Yeah.
but like today was one of those like, oh, I gotta put all of this chaos somewhere.
Yeah.
Sweat.
That is the best answer.
Mm-hmm.
One of the best answers.
Yeah.
So, something that we kind of start out with here to kind of like break the ice and also introduce the viewers to what you all do. We like to do a little thing that I call the elevator pitch. So I try to get people to essentially give me their elevator pitch, and it's always kind of hilarious because you're looking for how long an elevator ride is, which is about like 30 seconds or something like that, and everyone's just going into like multiple minutes worth of like lore dump as fast as they can kind of thing, which is like what I expect and what I want. But like it's always funny to like, oh, that was a great elevator pitch if I was going to like space or something, but totally fine. And I want you both to give it your best shot. What is the elevator pitch for Goblets and Gaze?
Joke's on you. I did this so well I got a degree. It's more like I went into game design, and elevator pitches was like throughout 4 years. Like so I got this. I got this. In fact, I'll go first.
Okay.
If Aubrey, so that way you can have some more time if you need it, Aubrey. Okay. So Goblins and Gaze is an all-queer, half BIPOC production where we play actual plays of various different systems, the main one being Pathfinder 2e. And our main flagship show is Blood of Kings, a fully Pathfinder 2e AP podcast, half BIPOC, all queer, where we travel throughout the homebrew world of Cyrene, made by Aubrey. And shit happens. And that's it. That's it. Like, I feel like, and shit happens. Period. And that's your elevator pitch.
That is 1000% true from what I listened to. Aubrey, what would you like to add to that, if anything?
Usually when I have to sell somebody on Goblets and Gays, I just go, it's an incredibly queer Pathfinder 2e, mostly Pathfinder 2e show, set in a homebrew world, very influenced by Greek mythology.
Oh, okay.
Mm.
Like, would you say, like, the nitty-gritty Greek mythology, or more of the Percy Jackson mythology level of things, or even lighter? There's a third tier of this, which is the Magic the Gathering, Wizards of the Coast level of Greek mythology, which is like, even like, you had like your whole milk, then you had your 2%. This is tap water.
I mean, what would you consider like because like God of War 2018 and Hades, kind of those are the vibes.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And then you just sprinkle Percy Jackson. Just sprinkle it.
Mm-hmm.
It's very important for that sprinkle.
Yeah.
Though I think we do also have a very healthy amount of Norse mythology going on. Greek is like the touchstone. It really is God of War 2018. That's
it really is
God of War 2018 and then Ragnarok. It really is just that, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh, but gayer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
I did notice there was
a character named Kratos.
Shut up. That was the joke. That was the joke.
Yep.
So so I'm guessing then, Aubrey, you are the game master for this world?
Yes, I am.
So then, Aki, what do you do in the world?
I am a player. If we're talking like actual play wise, I also do all the art that you see on our Twitter, yeah, that's it. I play Estrella. Depending on what season you are, the surname changes. And I'm a bard / depending on where you are in the season.
You were like 4 things, I think, by the end of season 4.
I am, yeah. That's the title is,
or whatever's current in season 4, I should say.
You are right. You are still correct. The current title is Quadruple Bard Princess. Quadruple Bard Princess Dragon Summoner. There you go. That is the current title.
That is the current one.
Mm-hmm. And technically, I gotta add more to it now.
Yeah. There are things that have happened.
Like literally the last recording we did makes me alter my title again. But like, that's the vibe.
Okay. I love that you're able to be flexible and show that evolution. Is that part of your whole character shtick, is to like almost, you know, have that like physical representation of the metaphorical character development?
Yes, actually. So Aubrey knows this. I have like it's still growing, but I have about a 7-page essay on just her naming conventions alone, because I'm a big ancient Greek history fan. Mythology comes second. History is what I like the most, though, and so I went like full blown all out on the things that I like with Greek culture, and Aubrey is a very great partner to work with. So we made it better, but also worse in terms of if I have to explain it, right? Like I could have a whole TED talk just about like what we did, how we planned it, how we made it worse, but like in a good way, and then how we made it better in a better way. So
Honestly, I'm here
it's
for that. And if we want to
it's
turn this into that TED Talk, we can have you back and we can talk about more things. But like, I'm into this. Like, I was gonna ask what your thoughts on the ancient mystery schools was and everything with Eleusis and all those fun, like, real historical things that were heavily supplemented by that mythology.
I went. Oh
yeah.
God, you're like tickling the correct part of my brain.
Right?
Yeah, I went. I tried to deviate a little, just a little bit from it. Like originally, I wasn't sure how far I was gonna get into, and that's solely because when we first started, I thought we would be like one season,
Mm-hmm.
two maybe, and even then, I was like 10 episode, like you know that. And I was talking to Aubrey, and Aubrey was like, I was thinking of maybe like Critical Role long. And I was like,
I mean, we're almost at 3 years.
There you go.
yeah. The best way to put it is I originally based my character off of a Pokemon plot. And then I had to
that's
change
fantastic.
it. But like in a really really good way, really great way. So like I just wasn't sure how much to invest, right?
Mm-hmm.
How much do we flex the creative juices, and how long do we even wanna go, right?
That is that's a really important question, because you see a lot of people who are trying to emulate that Critical Role style, myself included. Like, I didn't do it on purpose, but my players and I just can never get together, so we've been doing this for like almost 5 years now for like the same campaign. But these like long epics are something to chase. And do you feel like the inspiration that you both took from Greek mythology and like the epic had something to do with that?
Honestly, yeah, probably a little bit. You know, these epic stories of these heroes going all over the lands, massive journeys that span years. Definitely was thinking about things like that when I was writing it. Like, the show has changed quite a bit from like when I initially started. There were certain things where it was like, this is where I feel like we're gonna go, and then things happened and things took a right or a left, and it's like, okay, we're changing. I initially didn't plan on going all very God of War, like let's murder the Pantheon. That kind of just happened,
Right?
because the players already knew how horrible the gods were going into this campaign, because this is our second campaign in the world.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, actually, it's a good thing you brought that up. So originally, most of us in the cast, minus like a couple people, the original cast, so season 1, was we all played together regularly before, like pre-pandemic. We were all like online buddies, or we've met in person once or twice before, or if you're part of the Canadians like me and like one other person, we're classmates. So it was like, you know, like we had our little groups, but like we would play D&D together. And Cyrene was the very, very, very first campaign that kind of brought us all together. So but just way different timeline, way different story. God, we didn't even start in the same place. It was veered off. In fact, it was more like Ruby Steampunk. So it was like a completely different vibe than our podcast. But like we had meta knowledge that like 2 people didn't. So it was a wild adventure for them. And for us, it was like payback. I came in with a grudge.
It's like already having chips on your shoulder and everything.
Yeah. I was like, I'm ready. I didn't push for it. On purpose, didn't push for it. But
yeah, but there was this expectation to have already.
Yeah, I'm not upset that we're killing the Pantheon, but like, you know, it was one of those vibes.
That is so funny to me because of the very same reasoning with our own flagship stream that we're doing here. This is the second campaign in Omar's world, a Tailweaver's world. So it's funny that you say it like that, because it's like, oh, I have this chip on my shoulder because I know the dastardly things that that Omar is gonna like pull on us, and like the strings that he's gonna pull on, and the family members that are gonna be murdered somehow.
Oh my god!
I did murder ancestors of one of our players.
That was so. It was so funny.
It's like, have I created an entirely new timeline? Are there 2 timelines? Is there campaign 1 timeline and campaign 2 timeline? Because I definitely killed somebody's ancestors for our first campaign, which technically was supposed to take place 200 years in the future.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, if we're killing all the gods before that,
Yeah,
it completely changes the timeline. But that was so funny because we didn't make up our minds to do that yet. That was before we were like, let's kill everything. It's that was before, and it's so funny. It was Tick Out's character, Marrow. Not Marrow's future, but like Tick's past character. It's actually so funny. I'm enjoying. I think about it often, and I message Tick about it often.
You ever think about the fact that Delilah may not exist anymore?
You know, the one that ate live goldfish? I think about it. I love her, and I think about it a lot. Oh, this ship was good.
So then, Aubrey, would you say that like the Odyssey was kind of the inspiration for this, with this whole like God of War gonna go give the god your business because like they just treated you like the little mortal that you are, kind of thing?
Definitely that is there. Like the whole campaign starts with, you know, the party tracking down, working with this professor from a magical college to find a lost city, which then sort of starts a lot of things moving in the world, and involves them going and finding a lost princess, multiple lost princesses actually, but to be fair, one of them was in the party the whole time. And learning like their connections with the world. One of the players plays the child of the god of death, so that is like learning just like, oh, my dad's not a really good person, is he?
I think I know who you're talking about there, and I don't want to like spoil it if you're like going to go back and start from season 1, because I think some stuff that was in the first episode of season 4, like I gotta hand it to the entire cast. Like, you all did a great job bringing somebody like me up to speed on like some of like the major high points right there at the get-go. So I feel like if somebody wanted to like jump in on season 4, you would be able to still have like just as much enjoyment as someone who's been like a long time listener, which was super beneficial. So shout out and tip my hat to both of you and the rest of the cast.
Thank you.
We have a lot of fun making the recaps at the beginning of the season.
Yeah. We script those, which you should script some things in actual plays.
Yes.
Period.
Yes.
I personally think so, and especially something like an opening for like multi-seasonal things, and like I love the seasonal recaps that we do. Season 3's one is still my favorite though.
Okay, I'll have to go back and listen to that one.
That one is an incredibly I would say tense moment.
Okay.
Like right out the get-go, but it's like that's I think where we really like started pulling on a lot of our writing chops. Like with proper scripting and all that. And then Aubrey also just suddenly out of fucking nowhere gets really, really ham with the audio editing. And like season 4 is like pinnacle of it, okay? But like season 3, Sleeper Asian. Just comes in with all of that stuff, and it gets really, really good. we often recommend people to start with season 2 or 3 just to bypass
Some of
early
the
game
initial
audio.
our audio in season 1 not
Ooh.
great because it was just like let's see how this goes. I don't want everybody to invest in audio equipment if we don't continue this. But then it continued and we built up an audience, so it's like, would people mind getting mics?
I appreciate that so much, because if you look up the natural ones and go back to our 2018 recordings, yikes. Still trying to get those remastered. It is a headache because they were on different machines and stuff. So totally get what you're saying, and I do the same kind of thing. I like, you should probably just start here because we do a really great recap, and then all of a sudden you'll be right back into place. So I think that was like really cool, and it helped me get right into like the front seat riding shotgun with the chaos that is ensuing with all of y'all. So very much appreciate it. I guess like what's some of the other things I wanted to kind of like generally talk about the idea of therapy in your storytelling and in your game world and all of that stuff, and like in the tabletop RPG space, because we have like a lot of my friends and I have always joked that like playing these games is basically like going to therapy and like having your friends there with you to help you figure out these problems that you could be trying to navigate in a safe fantasy setting. And then I listen to your show and you're constantly talking about going to therapy and stuff, and it is golden. So can you both talk to me a little bit about that?
I definitely think it started when Aki made her character's adoptive father a therapist.
Originally.
Yeah.
Originally, that was the character I was going to play. I was going to play a gnome bard who was a wandering therapist. Okay? And I only changed because one of the other players said that they were going to play a big buff woman. And I went, bet! And I changed characters. And I love this little therapist bard that I made, so I kept them as a family touchstone background NPC that later on comes in properly, as backstories do, and and then afterwards it kind of spiraled, but like in a very fun way, where all of the characters started actively seeking therapy or talking about working this out in therapy or just talking in general.
There's some really great moments of the players, these characters being like, because we've got a lot of characters that have various traumas and things like that. We have one character who starts the campaign and they're an ex-war criminal.
War crimes.
Yeah, they happen.
Yeah. It's and everyone's in various states of, I would say, disarray throughout the seasons, in fact shifting, because the character development over something as long as this wavers really nicely, where you got some lows and highs, but ultimately it gets it gets higher and higher and higher. So that was super fun. We also have different ways of showing how people decompress. For example, and I don't recommend this unless you're into it. 2 of our characters often fist fight.
Yeah.
While they're talking about their feelings and stuff. Like, that's how they get it out, because they're not in a place where they can necessarily talk about it too much, but they can talk about it while they're sparring. And they know that they're sparring, so they're not fighting each other to the death or anything like that. We actually even make a rule on it. It's like, this is how many HP you got before it's like it's done. So that's a good one. And we have other ones where it was like, with our new co-producer, and I shouldn't call them new cast member, but they're newer from like season 3 and onwards. Dusty's character Joanna. We have Tia time. where where the aunt character comes in and talks about your problems like in a nice, comforting way, like that nice, almost motherly figure, someone to trust, and who's there to support you, but it's also like, you need to help me cook, you need to help, you need to rest, type of vibe. So it's very nice. We also have a god of therapists, technically.
Yeah, there's a god who is the god of sorrow and repose, and their whole thing is helping people through the difficulties in their lives, and helping mostly with like grief and things like that. But yeah, they've kind of become the god of therapy.
Yeah. Is there a real to life Greek god equivalent?
I'm trying to go through the pantheon in my head.
No, yeah, and no stress, no pressure. Like if
I
there
know
is,
there's probably one of those like minor gods that
Okay.
Yeah,
like is like that Zeus created at some point.
Mhm.
there are definitely gods that fall under like their lore was used to explain why certain emotions exist,
Mhm.
or sort of like there's a god of like a gentle death, there's a god of like of a violent death, so it's like there's vague concepts, I know that much, but in Pathfinder 2e, repose, I believe, is an actual domain. So
Yeah.
there is literally a domain of sadness. You could be the sad cleric.
Yeah. I kind of want to play like a cleric of repose in a game of, like this is my job is I'm with people as they're grieving and I help them through this process.
That sounds so interesting. And it also leads me into one of my next kind of questions for y'all. How easy or difficult has it been doing everything homebrew? Because I know I have just started my Pathfinder 2nd edition journey, and doing like some character creation stuff. I've learned that like a lot of the lore kind of dictates some of the character abilities and actions and stuff like that. And I know that those actions and stuff also kind of helped inform the people creating the world of Pathfinder when they were doing the lore. So I picked up on pretty quickly the fact that all of you kind of do homebrew spells with like some of your what am I going to call them? Ritual spells specifically.
Yeah.
And was that just kind of something of necessity, or did that happen more naturally when either converting from D&D or just something you wanted to have happen in your world specifically?
I mean, when we started Pathfinder, like the ritual spells really weren't there. There were like a small handful of them. And so there were a lot of times where earlier on I would be building these rituals, being like, okay, we want to do this. So I would look at it, be like, okay, you would probably need 4 supporting casters. This would be the critical success, the failure, and the critical failure condition. These are the kind of checks you'll have to make. And we go in a little bit more in depth because I don't think like rules as written, they require as many checks as I usually have. But then, I let my players narrate the whole thing. Like, how do you perform this ritual? What is it like? And I'm there just sort of in the background, let it sort of gently pushing everything along, being like, okay, another hour has passed. I need another check. What are you doing? Like, what are your roles? Kind of thing.
I did really enjoy that, where you have these like, you kind of almost make it into a skill challenge of sorts, with just like, okay, you're not doing the magic, but you might need to like protect the room or whatever. Like, what are you doing for this hour? And I thought it was like really cool, and it also gave the people not casting in the ritual like something to do and be active members with. So I thought that was really cool when I was listening through to the last season.
Yeah, there's a moment where they're doing a resurrection ritual on somebody who's been dead for a very long time, and at the beginning I made a choice, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have a player flip a coin, and depending on, because this person is in the underworld, which has some problems right now, so they're essentially pulling the soul out through underworld and limbo. Like, what is gonna happen with this, rather than the few times they'd done it before, they already had the soul on Cyrene with them, so it's kind of just like puts you in a new body.
Yeah.
So it came up that they were going to get some resistance from the ferryman. And then just the panic on the players' faces when it became a opposed skill check. Being like, something is pulling against you to keep this soul there, and then everyone, the people who are not doing the ritual, are trying to figure out what's going on. So
Mhm.
they're making checks as well. And it just so happened that our person who has been isekai'd into this world from our world.
We'll get to that. I really wanted to
Yeah.
talk about that as well because I think it is so funny. Are you from Mexico? We just ask everybody that. It's like hilarious. So good. But continue, sorry.
No, you're good. And the person, because it's like, well, Greek lore exists in our world, so that, they kind of realized what was going on, and they made a check, and I was like, yeah, you've heard stories about like having like, because this person wasn't given a proper burial that they were trying to bring back, so nobody paid their toll to go across the river, and so the ferryman was trying to collect his toll. So they realized, okay, nope, we have to put the money on the eyes to pay the toll, and then the soul will be released to us.
That's so cool.
As a person who was doing the ritual, I nearby shat my pants. I wasn't. I don't know. I just didn't ever think of an opposing role because, like, I was so comfortable without it. I actually take a dedication in Ritualist later on, as one, it's available, it's a thing, and it dictates dictates more guidelines and rules on how to use it, which we still homebrew our stuff, but we follow it a little bit more with some of the rituals, and some of the rituals are also like really good ideas as well. We just homebrew a bit of it in terms of like how we would do it, like what our rules would kind of be for it. And it doesn't say opposing check. I don't think about an opposing check. This whole time the only thing that was opposing me was like the sun, okay? Like, it's just nobody was like fighting me on it, okay? And then out of nowhere it was like, oh, you feel resistance, and I'm like, from who? The body? I was confused, and then no, it's some bitch on a boat, like. And the worst part of it's the one person where I'm iffy on how to pronounce their name. I called them like, I was like, is it Sharon, Chiron, or Karen? Like, I was like, it was just, oh my goodness. Either way, it was still really it was still really fun, and it was still like a very good moment because the panic is genuine, but it's not like panic I'm gonna die or panic I'm in distress. It's panic, what is this?
What is going on?
This? Yeah. So it was very good panic, and I do enjoy it still. I think back to it extremely fondly because I just didn't expect it.
So speaking of that, like that honest to God's panic that was experienced, as a listener, I was able to actually feel that, like in your voice and everything. So like I personally felt like I was right there with you with it, and it brings up another instance that I like took a note on because I was like, this is like super intense right now, and I think it was early on in season 4 where someone was crying, and I was like, are these like actor tears right now, or are these like deep, like this is an emotional like nerve that is being like flicked right now, like this is actual tear-jerking moment, like so you can also refuse to answer if it was movie magic, and you don't want to spoil it. But like, does that happen with your group? You're regularly getting like that raw with the therapy.
It happens occasionally. We've had moments where people have cried at the table, and I'm always not trying to like purposely make it happen. It's just like people really get into what's going on. People really get into character, and we've had these stories that have been building up for almost 3 years at this point. So like people are very invested.
Mm-hmm. We do have very good actors and people that just do amazing character work. In general, I would argue our whole cast actually does great character work, just in different ways or in different pieces. Like Groon's player Sparlock is super fun, but often takes more of like a backseat to things because they want to play like their nice fun comedy character.
Yeah.
A little goblin arsonist, and we love that. But Groon has tons of raw moments or where they ask questions and you're like, a child should not be asking those questions. Like, it hurts.
Even though Groon is like 14. Groon is over an adult in Goblin years.
Yeah, in Goblin years, Groon's an adult. And Groon has like funny things where it's like, what do you mean? 3 years old is a perfectly legal drinking age. Like, it's like it's super fun. But then Groon will also not know a lot of things because of like their upbringing, and so it's like, while the more often or not Sparlock will be more quiet, they'll hit us with like really great character work out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Or for comedy, and like again, comedy is real good. And then you have like, I'm gonna keep bringing it back to Dusty. Dusty gets very into their characters. Actually, all of their characters are linked. They're all related.
Yeah.
No matter if you're in a one shot with them, your one shot is now a part of the Dustyverse. They're all linked, and it's really awesome. We play enough with them to the point where we can see the links, and it's so nice. It's really, really cool.
Yeah.
But then you have like Joanna. Aside from that, is a very full-rounded character, really deep lore, really sad, but also that warm auntie you want to take care of, like that kind of vibe. And yeah, it's a beautiful spread of people doing really good work. But like, absolutely for sure, there have been people who've cried.
Yeah,
I have only cried once. Everything else is me faking it.
I will remember the first time I actually remember someone crying was end of season 2.
Okay.
When there was a massive combat as they were in this city that was getting invaded, and one of our players, their character died. And I was just like, well, we're kind of in the middle of this, and I don't want this person to be sitting out for 3 sessions. So, and I'd already had like ideas of like, what am I going to do for thematic ways to bring people back? And this character was Marrow, who's played by Tick Out. And their character is the child of the god of the underworld, but they have the connection with their mom, who was a very well-known adventurer in the world before she died. And so when they die, they go to limbo and they see their mom again for the first time in like a while, because they grew up in the underworld. And then for bringing them back, I decided that because Marrow's mother is a character that is she's kind of alive, but she's also kind of dead because of story reasons. Like, has a foot in both worlds, and to return Marrow to life, she takes her foot out of the world of the living and decides to pass on. And Tick and Marrow realizing this at the moment it's happening, as things start glowing, and the tears and the emotions, I think everybody was very emotional at that table.
It was painful.
Yeah. That
Especially
sounds
because
painful. I'm like, that is so intense.
Tick is very. Tig is very good at bringing in raw emotions.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a lot of things with Marrow expect it to be at fucking raw.
Mhm.
Honestly, laid bare on the table, like a heart on your sleeve type of character, and Tig
Yeah.
is very good at displaying that.
Mhm.
Whether they're actually crying or not, we made a bingo game about it. We're like, Tig cries. Bingo. Like, it was there.
The Blood of Kings season 3 bingo is just Tick cry.
Oh wow, that's so nuts. But I feel like whenever the players have a great game master and they're able to like also like stand on their own a little bit as characters, just because they have that talent, whether it's innate or learned or whatever. I feel like that always just helps the rest of the table, and the players can then kind of lean on each other and make it a little bit easier to like get into character and kind of like forget for a moment that you're not really Aki, you are your character, and this is the shit that's happening. So I feel like, is Tick crying? Maybe. But like it could be stage crying, we're not sure. But
we don't have cameras on.
We don't have cameras on, but because everybody else is so invested and so in character already, it's just something. It's that level of magic. I don't know, with tabletop games that you can get into. I think sometimes, so it's really cool to hear you both talk about it like that. Is there a Persephone thing going on there, Aubrey?
For Hades and Persephone, no, not really. It's more of Beauty and the Beast, except no Stockholm syndrome.
I would,
Hey!
I would say, like, if we're talking about Marrow's mom's
Mhm.
case, I would say it would be a very Madeline Miller take on Persephone.
Yeah, no,
if you know
that's
the author,
true.
yeah, like Song of Achilles,
Mhm.
Circe, those books, it would be a very her take on it. So it would be not romantic. Is the best way to put it. It's not romantic. Do not think of it as romantic.
And
Is
Marrow is
like,
made out of dirt.
Marrow's made out of dirt.
Mhm.
It's a long. It is true, but it's also a long-running bit.
You don't know how many times I bring it up in and out of character. I send that stupid Jack Sparrow meme. I got a jar of dirt. I'm like, it's you. But it's also very Greek, so.
Yeah. Does anybody carry around like a jar of dirt just in case you need to like make any patches or whatever?
No, but they should. I should make them start doing that.
It's a very good idea. We carry around other miscellaneous things, like bones, for not even the right reason.
I like them. I think they're neat. That's the
Can
reason.
I keep that bone? No.
It's not like a trophy thing. It's just I think they're neat thing.
It really is. It's like we call it the bone collection, but it really is just, oh, that's so neat. And sometimes once they were used for jewelry, once they were used for soup. So,
I mean,
bone broth.
Yeah.
Just getting the marrow.
Literally. That's who collects them too. Marrow again.
Marrow for marrow. It makes sense. I understand. I can follow that logic. I guess like this is kind of just shying away from some of the storytelling stuff and more of like a personal ask. But what other like historical Greek events, if any, have you incorporated into the game? If you're willing to talk about it, sometimes you don't want to reveal things, so I totally get that. But if there is something that you borrowed from and you can talk about it because it's already been,
Mhm.
revealed or whatever. That's cool too.
There's been many invasions in various cities.
Hmm.
Some done by players, some done by NPCs. There's also times where we lean more on like less of like what actually happened in Greece and more of like kind of the way everything is seemed to have happened, like very much from like mythology and things like that. This is the weirdest Jason and the Argonauts team you've ever seen.
Hmm.
And I hate that bitch. I'm so glad you brought that motherfucker up. I hate Jason. I hate him. I hate him powerfully.
Let's
Um,
talk about that, Aki. Why do you hate
Why?
Jason?
what the weakest warrior of the mind I've ever seen. Weak sauce, literally, just like not a simp, takes the biggest L in history by being alive. His death is an even bigger L, and just one hell of a manipulator. Okay, man invented gaslight and gatekeeping. That's it, right? And other than that,
Hmm.
actually, so because I hate Jason so much, you should know that I love Medea a lot. I love Medea too much. Okay, and they play a part in how I did things with Estrella, down to naming stuff like Estrella has a sister named Atalanta. Atalanta was turned away by Jason to be a part of the heroic journey. Now Atalanta's a bum ass bitch with a sword. So like, you know what I mean? Like I
Hmm.
changed some stuff around. But also, I like I have mad beef with a lot of Greek figures who are warriors of the mind because, in my opinion, they do the dumbest shit. They do some of the dumbest things ever, and it's not excusable anymore because you're literally you're not supposed to do that. Um, and so Estrella is a warrior of the mind. Uh, I guess you could say trope type.
Hmm.
And then her entire hero's journey is based off of the Greek god Estrella, whom she's named after,
Hmm.
and that would be your goddess of justice, precision, youth, all that kind of stuff. And it falls her entire journey from season 1 to season 4 falls under. I want to say the vibe is there, like there is no actual proper
Hmm.
dated journey of this character
Yeah.
at all. But if you read a little bit about the myth and then you've seen Estrella's growth, you'll understand a lot of the touchstones. And this is more like if this were like ever an adaptation of her.
Yeah.
That's what this is. That's how I went on about it. Also, actively smacking the shit out of anyone that reminded me of Jason remotely. Casually, I've taken over many kings. Just
You have.
hate that shit. And with the power, with like Medea's power, I should say, as well. I do a lot of things. I have so many opinions. I have about Medea and how much I love her and how much I think she's justified in absolutely everything she did. Um, and I put a lot of that in Estrella, down to the point where she's a native of the place, but she's also a foreigner. So she would be seen as in ancient Greek culture as barbaric, but not, like as a lack of better terms.
Hmm.
Actually, they're the proper terms, but they're just
Mhm.
not nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
she's a very power. She becomes a very powerful woman. Makes some mistakes, rectifies those mistakes.
Hmm.
It's what I think a warrior of the mind's journey should be, with very, very strong morals, um, and whatnot. But like that's the vibe, and also curb stomping anyone that remotely reminded me of Jason. That's why I didn't like the goddamn. That's why I didn't like Kevin. That's why I didn't like him. That's the real reason.
No,
I
that
hate
makes
that
sense.
bitch. And that wasn't even that guy's name. His name was like Tyrion or something.
Hmm.
So I guess to follow up on that, you mentioned the hero's journey a lot. Aubrey, did you have the intention of interjecting
Hmm.
and or subverting the hero's journey, or did you kind of let the players take the wheel, and if that's what they wanted to do, you would kind of work that in.
Yeah, it is very player like. This is like I give them the this the I like this is your goal. This is like the thing you are setting out to do. How do you want to do this?
Mhm.
Like season 1 and the first like a good part of season 2 has been chasing this lost princess and learning the secrets about the gods and learning secrets about themselves, because several of the players had direct connection to some of the gods. Like Aki's character did, Ferris's character, Tick's character. These direct connections where they can like take a look at like Aki's character is the granddaughter of the god of trickery.
The only bad god, like the god that was villainized too. Hence why I mentioned the barbarous aspect of it. We also do have an actual like a whole ass cleric too, Grunigan. So that was like a completely different relationship with the gods per se. So we had one that was like haha super chill, another one clerigy type of brought up raised vibe. I guess another one is abandoned. And then the last one was I don't know. I find out later.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think now we can talk about Mexico.
It has become time to discuss Mexico.
Oh yeah.
In this North American smorgasbord between Canada, the United States, and now Mexico that we're going to be discussing. Can you kind of tell the viewers what that's all about? Like, what's the deal with Mexico in your world?
Well, so Dusty is now a full-time cast member. When we met Dusty and stuff, and we brought Dusty in initially, Dusty was just a guest, and so it was a character. I was like, we're gonna maybe see Joanna once, twice, see how that goes. Need somebody to help out and want to showcase awesome people in the community. So, and Dusty was like, well, I have this character. Can I do XYZ? Can they, be essentially isekai'd into this world? And me thinking that this is a one-off guest character goes, yeah, sure, that's fine. And then it became really, really popular, and we've also become really good friends with Dusty. So when just brought Dusty back in the middle of season 3, when it was we also like did a one-shot completely around Joanna's adventures in Cyrene, and then it became a thing. It's one of those things where it's like, this is just a guest. We're not going to remember this, and then it stuck around.
That's awesome. So now does that, as I had kind of previously mentioned before, that includes the question: have you ever heard of Mexico?
I wanted to milk that forever, like just because out of context, but with the background of we're from here, we are right. The party now just sounds and looks like a bunch of gal pals trying to have a vacay in Mexico, and it's horrible, but it's very, very funny. Also, I love isekais personally, so I was like, I'm gonna make sure you never forget it, because if I somehow die and I'm okay with it, bitch, I'm next. Isekai. I'm gonna isekai the shit out of it, and I'll make it even more meta. I'll be like, yeah, my favorite podcast was called Blood of Kings. Like I would have done worse. I would have done way worse. At least Dusty came in with the respect to have amnesia.
Yeah, Dusty was like, oh, I don't remember anything. So I was like, yeah, no, we'll tease some stuff, because Joanna is a character that I think Dusty played in a Monster of the Week thing, if I'm remembering correctly, years ago.
Yeah, it was like Monster of the Week.
Mm-hmm.
I think Dusty played Joanna once in a different Pathfinder game. I think it was Pathfinder 1. I'm pretty sure. Because I know she was always like a fighter, that being her current class too, and I knew that much. But yeah, Mexico, super fun. Isekai, so much fun. I think that's my favorite random tidbit fact that we ever did. And we have a lot of references. We have a lot of things that suddenly accidentally became canon, like Captain Crunch.
I was gonna ask about the book club next because you have done, I think a couple times I've heard now where you like reference some, like you don't even call it, like I think one of them was like Full Metal Alchemist or something that you did like
Total
total
Steel Artificer.
yeah, fantastic.
Mhm.
So
Oh,
that was a fun little like drop, and I'm like, oh, but does Dusty's character know about like
no,
like
that's the best part. That's the best. We've talked about this off screen. We were like, probably not for
mhm.
that one,
Mhm.
but like somehow Joanna would know what Twilight is, and Joanna would teach the next of kin about Twilight. And like it makes no sense, but at the same time, I'm here for it because can you imagine
Mhm.
just like I don't know, somewhat years down the line, and we're all playing characters of our characters, and it's like Team
The
Edward, Team
ancient,
Jacob.
the ancient story of Twilight.
I'm like I feel like now you're just like waiting for the moment to use the bit where you can be like still a better love story than Twilight. You know? Like
Exactly.
Yeah,
We've done a lot.
and
We've done a
we
lot.
also just like I love letting my players create these strange bootleg versions of stories because we have an entire other show where they have done a lot of that because it's a horror show and stuff, and so I take influence from like my favorite like horror villains and things like that, and I put them up against the players, and then I've mistakenly or whatever let the players decide the names of them, and so we've got some like knockoff Freddy Krueger's, knockoff Michael Myers. I cannot wait for knockoff Jason Voorhees.
I'm waiting. I'm waiting. I'm waiting for it. I'm waiting for it. So Michael Myers is by far the cheapest, being Michael Myers.
mhm.
Um, okay, but Freddy Krueger, the player was trying to name it, and they had it in their head, but they said Freddie Mercury instead, and now that is canon. Freddie Mercury, the star of like what? What was it?
Bad Dreams on 12th
Bad Dream.
Street.
Yeah, Bad Dream. This shit's awful.
I don't
Scream
even.
is Shriek.
Okay.
That one's not bad though. That one's pretty dope. Um,
And I mean, even like in Blood of Kings, you've created a lot of other just like bootleg things, Total Steel Artificer,
fucking
and
Larry Daughter, that was mine, and I
that was the
regret that.
first
That was the
episode.
very first episode. That was the very first bootleg thing, and I regret it. I regret it incredibly. Even though I make fun of the dumb bitch in the episode, I regret it because I spoke it into the aether.
Mhm. To be fair, I don't think we've mentioned it too much since the first season.
We have not, but I hate that that was the first one. It was from me. It was from like Ferris or something. I'd rip on her for that, but it's from me.
Mm.
That's cringe. It was from me.
It's okay. They all can't be certified gold.
Gotta make your boo boos.
Mm.
It's kind of like one of my favorite quotes from Jim Butcher. Ideas are cheap, you know. You come up with other goofs, it's fine. What else did I want to make sure that we talked about? Another thing that kind of deals with all of like the emotions and then also sometimes the funny stuff. Uh, in the show, you have a way of like kind of transitioning between like ambient noises and sounds that could just be like a forest or a tavern or something like that, and then you kind of like switch that over to moments where you just have melodies going or different bits of music. Is that something that is all in post, or do you,
Oh, yeah.
Aubrey, have any music going for your players while you're playing?
No, we don't have any music going. So like literally it is all in post. I go through and I usually make notes when I do my first initial edit, my first initial listen through, and like being like, okay, we don't need us to like describing how to grapple somebody for the sixth time. I can cut that out. And also make a note of like, okay, they're at an inn, so have inn ambiance or soft music. This is an emotional scene, so let's pick an emotional song. This is combat, so let's get it going. Let's get the music pumping. As you know, we ratchet up that tension.
Yeah. Aki, does that make it difficult then sometimes to, like, do you listen to it after it's been produced fully and everything, or is it something where like, oh, I lived it, I don't need to like go back and listen to it?
It depends, because sometimes I need to listen to it for the sake of being like, what the fuck happened? Like just like I lived through it, but it doesn't mean I remember all of it, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
especially if it was very emotional, sometimes I don't remember what I said, and I need to listen through it, or I don't remember what another player said to me because I'm all up in my emotions. So there's stuff like that. But I have listened through some of it, and I mean, like, I trust Aubrey's decision. Also, what the hell am I gonna do? Be like, actually, now that this episode is edited and posted, you should change this. Like, it's that's so rude.
Yeah.
But like, I trust almost all of. Why am I saying almost all? I trust Aubrey's decisions in making stuff. But I do this as the bard, but also because I'm a very like cultural touchstone person. I bring up a lot of like references to help as I describe what I'm trying to do, and I think Aubrey does try to match it.
As much
To
as
the
I can with
yeah, I was like
music
to the
that we
best,
don't have to pay for.
I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, like, you know, to the best of your abilities, you try to match it. So I think the vibes are correct. Like I make a lot of I will say the full name of like the song, so that way, like, if you, the listener, were ever curious of like what I'm thinking in that moment, you could go look it up yourself
Mhm.
and listen to it. And usually, like, you know, honestly, both versions, in my opinion, work, because it's as long as the vibe is correct, then that's what matters. And I do my best to describe the vibe that I'm going for, the eeriness, or even just to get like a visual of how the magic is playing into this, being a bard. So it all works out in the end. Um, Also, I realized all of this throughout this entire campaign. I used Barbie as a really big reference to unnecessary things. I've described dresses, and I've been like, so if you look at Barbie, Princess and the Pauper, like I get really into it, and I'm like, damn, I didn't know Barbie had such a big role in my life.
Barbie has such a hold on you.
It does. Okay,
Wow.
like you can, like, if you look at the background, you can see the other hold in fucking Pokemon. But like Pokemon is at least like, oh, it's Pokemon, makes sense. Barbie.
Hey, I mean, everybody likes different things, you know. If Barbie like had a big role in your life, it is what it is.
I know, but I didn't know there was that big.
That's like the fun part. Like when you realize, like, oh god, have I been just doing this the whole time?
Yeah, like, oh my god, I think of the colors. I think of the. This is so so lame. I think of the colors. I'll think of like what I think the sound effect sounds like in that in that moment. Like, so no post. What I think in my head, I'll be like Barbie sparkles transition. I'll be like that. I think I've described the 12 Dancing Princesses opening theme so many times, and you should go listen to it, okay? Whoever was doing the music for that went off for like a minute. That's it. That's how long it is. It's not a long listen, but it's surprising when you were like, this is a Barbie movie. Right? God, I think I used Bridgerton stuff a couple times too, so it's just hyperfem all around.
That's awesome. Aubrey, does that make it easier or more difficult for your narrative storytelling?
No, I mean like I like the players having these touchstones, and if I'm ever curious, I just Google,
Yeah.
and I'm just being like, oh yeah, I can see that.
Okay.
Like looking things up in the heat of the moment, being like, okay, what does this dress look like? Okay, it looks like that. Cool. And just having people who are so invested in the whole thing just makes everything better. Yeah, like I also I as a GM try not to do too many references, but if I am ever a player, yeah, I will reference things. Um, like, oh, it looks like this from this thing. As a GM, I try to steer away from it a little bit, but when I'm a player, it's fair game.
Yeah, I can understand that. Do you ever do the thing where you are still referencing something, but you're just not saying, "Oh, it's the bullpen from Brooklyn Nine-Nine." You're like, "No, it's a rectangular building, room where there's a glass office in the corner with a young halfling with her boots up on the desk in front of it, clearly not paying attention to anything else going on." Like, do you describe things like that instead of just like, "Oh, it's this thing"?
Yeah, I try to like, if there's like a specific like there's a specific thing that I'm thinking of, sometimes I will say like, if you have seen X, it very much looks like Y. I'm trying to remember specific times I have done it, but then other times where it's like I'll have the thing open over on my other monitor and just being like, yeah, and it's like you see this giant open temple with all of these things and stuff, and well, it's whatever I feel like at the time.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun. I once did that with Clue, and it took my players like 3 sessions to figure out that we were playing Clue. I'm like, "Oh, and we're moving from the kitchen to the observatory."
I did something similar, and I'm trying to remember when that was. But like, it wasn't Clue, but it was like I was doing something specific, and I was wondering how long it was the players to catch on what I was doing.
Mm.
Um, but the Blood of Kings players have gotten very smart about my tricks.
Like you get us sometimes, don't worry. But okay, I like riddles, I like puzzles, so
Mhm.
I'll like hyper focus on that. And it's very fun because I'm playing a character who also likes riddles and puzzles
Mhm.
and is very like learned that way. So it's like, okay, I'm in character. I'm in character the whole time, wink wink. And I'm gonna figure out what this goddamn the answer to this riddle is. And I've done it several times. In any game that I'm in, whether
Yeah.
Aubrey is my GM or not, where I just figure out the riddle and then I overthink it.
Yeah,
I'll figure out the riddle
I
immediately.
remember that Sphinx riddle that Ferris put with us, where it was C and I over at the corner being like, what is it?" And Aki's like, "It can't be that simple." And C and I are spending 10 minutes being like,
It was C being Pie Sharp Art,
mm,
who's also a reoccurring NPC, the captain,
mm,
in our in Blood of Kings, but also like Sea of Transplanter, haha.
mm.
Was 3 back-to-back riddles. And I
Yeah.
figured it out immediately, and then I overthinked it, and then I went to Ferris, who was our GM at the time. And I was like, "Is it this? Is it these 3 things?" Ferris was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Okay, so I'm extra overthinking it for no reason. I was correct," and that's just how it's been. I like riddles.
Is that your favorite one of all time, or do you have another one that you can share? Or, and same goes for you, Aubrey. Did you ever have a riddle or puzzle that you thought was gonna stump your players completely, and they like flew through it, or like such a no-brainer that you're like, this is, like a challenge rating of like 5, and they ended up spending 20 minutes trying to figure it out?
I'm trying to think. Like, I'm never one that throws in as many like riddles and puzzles. Or if I do, I can sometimes be I present them a problem, and I accept what solution I find the most interesting.
Okay.
um, and I'm trying to remember like the times where there have been puzzles or riddles in Blood of Kings. I don't think there've been many. Um,
I can point one out that was foreshadowing, and the only reason why I didn't guess it in the beginning was because of
mm,
audio issues.
Okay.
But
Which
if I
one?
knew it, I would have known immediately, and I wouldn't have let it affect how my character acted or anything. But I would have been in Aubrey's DMs like, hey, I know this, I know exactly what you're doing with this, and it was the name of the previous queen of Cressa. Her name is Maeve. Maeve means like dark or evil queen in like Irish or something like that. And I knew that bitch was a villain. Like, and I was like, like I would have known it immediately. I just didn't know what her name was for like 2.5 seasons. Like,
Yeah, I actually do a lot more like riddles and puzzles on our other show, but because that whole thing is this interlocking mystery, and just like seeing how they're pulling these threads apart is so much fun. And what are their theories as to what's going on? Because it's like a horror show, and you know, it is like developing it like a game, and there are all of these answers, and it's just watching them try to figure it out is so much fun.
That's awesome. And then, Aki, did you have any other favorite puzzles or anything from Goblets and Gaze specifically? I love hearing like the player perspective on these types of things.
okay, this is gonna sound really weird, and I'm not gonna like. I don't know a way to not make it, to not say what it is bluntly, because it's really weird, but it's not, and you're gonna probably get it immediately. So like Jurassic Park exists, and we like showed up, right, and we were like, okay, we got to get this one item, yeah, and you know, we our characters don't know what a dinosaur is. There's only one person in this party who does, Joanna. And the rest of us are like, these dinosaurs, no, sorry, these dragon bones are really weird. That's a big lizard. What is that, a bear? Like, we were like, you know, just talking. And then we were like, okay, we guessed that, like, not guess, I think we rolled a correct check to know that, like, if we remove this item, these things are gonna like come alive and attack us. And so we came up with this super strategic multi-level floor plan, because there was 3 levels, and it was all like it was like a 30 minutes of talking this out. We're like, you're fast, you'll be at the top floor with the person who's gonna take it, who then knows to spell thoughtful gift, which lets you transport an item in your hands to someone else that you're thinking of, right? So it was like this, and then we're gonna do this, and we're all gonna get out, and then you can slow them down, and we'll just do these things. And I'm pretty sure what ended up happening was like thoughtful gift happened, and then we just jumped from the 3rd floor to the 1st floor, something like that. Like there was still a chase, but we defeated the plan of the first part.
You did like, oh no, things are happening faster than we thought. Yeet.
Yeah, we like deviated from it was a very well thought out plan. Okay, like we had a very nice. We were like, I think one of us is gonna use grease to make it slippery for the others, but like the people with the highest reflex saves would be able to just like no problem, right? And then there were people who could fly, so they wouldn't even need to make the save, and instead we just jumped off.
Yeah.
We just jumped off. One of us had feather fall. It was like.
And then ran out as the giant skeletal T-Rex was chasing you, and shut the doors behind you.
I think 2 people got picked up as well, like physically picked up, thrown over the shoulder like potato sacks by other party members, and we booked it. But it was like 30. It was 30 minutes of planning. But like it was still fun. Like it was still very, very fun, right? Because this whole like it's extra fun that we had to pretend that we didn't know what dinosaurs were, and like talk openly about these things, and also
these large flightless dragons,
really long lizards, and also the player that liked bones was there, and we were like, you can't take them. You can't take all of them. So it was yeah, that was it was a puzzle technically, because of the mechanic of taking the item out would make everything come alive, and it wasn't a little things. It was a lot of things, like Raptor Squad and T-Rex and some other big bitch. And then there were 2 bitches outside. Like, like we were gonna get swarmed very easily, which is why we were over planning.
Yeah.
And we just jumped off.
And I developed it as this really cool, awesome, epic encounter of them fighting all these dinosaur skeletons, and then they were like, "Nope," and I just went, "Okay."
Well, yeah, we didn't fight them. I think we outran them.
You
We
just ran
fought.
away from them.
Yeah, we fought one in the very, very beginning.
And then you cast Disintegrate on it, and then there was no more dinosaur.
Yeah, we have a Tamsin that is from our
Wizard.
other newer edition, Alyssa. Just casually knows Disintegrate. It's so every now and then just gets tossed out, and we're like, oh. I personally always forget because of how subtle like the character's magic is in the first place. So like, was I expecting that whole T-Rex to get disintegrated?
Probably not.
No. It's a large pile of sand is what that was.
Right. Speaking of like such like nuance and subtlety of the things that go on in your campaign, I couldn't help but notice that whenever you weren't in combat specifically or doing some kind of other very specific check, it felt like the entire show is like system agnostic. And is that like by intention to help weave in some of these other one shots in other systems that you use, so it feels more flawless or seamless narratively? Or do you just, with all of the post-production that you do, Aubrey, is it something that has like kind of evolved throughout the show's history where you get a little bit less of that table talk and more just focus on the RP stuff?
Yeah, I mean, like, we don't have a lot of table talk when we're playing, or if we do, like, I do cut out stuff. I create blooper reels of all the fun table talk moments, try to keep the story moving, so it's not suddenly like somebody tells like a 3-minute story that's really great, but it kind of just interrupts what's going on. So I cut it out. We keep it, like, I keep all the clips and everything, and I make blooper reels for people just to hear all of this fun stuff, because we've got some really great just bloopers moments and things like that, or like and there's also a lot of times where it's like we do a lot of RP, we do a lot of storytelling, and yeah, there are times where it's like we rolled dice 3 times tonight.
Yeah.
And it's just like, because they're telling the story this way, and like Pathfinder does have a lot more downtime and exploration stuff that we really don't use for this campaign. I'd love to use it for a different campaign, like maybe for our second campaign, just like weave some of that stuff in there, because there are some really cool things you can do with it. But it's just we've never used it. It's just one of those things that it's just like, it's there, it exists. I think we used it a little bit in season 1, and then like we haven't, because it's like, yeah, there's a lot of travel time in a lot of these conversations, but there's not maybe a lot of time where it's like, oh, we need to avoid notice as we're exploration, because it's like, we're going from one place to another. I'm not rolling like random encounters or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Also,
Yes.
when we started, only like one of us played Pathfinder, like, and knew about second edition, and like one other person was like, I played first edition like 5 years ago. I only know what skills are. Like, so we were like, okay, we were very new. Aubrey included. Both of us were like, shit is this?
Yeah.
And so we were like, well, we'll just learn as we play, which is why we definitely get a lot of, we got a few things wrong, but no one's really rules lawyered us, because we don't care. Two, I think in the recordings we said we don't care. And
and we've also been like, hey, remember we were doing that? We were actually doing it wrong. This is how it's done.
Yeah, and then we would address it later on when we found out we were wrong. And there were definitely times in the middle of recordings where it's like, 1 second, I'm gonna check Reddit, and we would check it and whatnot. Second edition also like just came out when we started.
It was a little under a year old when we started. Like when we initially started, one of our players, I had to kind of take a little bit of the Witch playtest for like the first 2 episodes because the Advanced Player's Guide hadn't come out yet when we started, and they wanted to play the Witch. So it was like you're playing the like the you know, this is the test version of the Witch. We'll bring you to the actual Witch when it comes out.
Wow.
We've also straight up had to remake our character sheets from like season 1 to season 2. Everybody remade their character sheets because new things came out. We found out that like a couple of us did things wrong. I know I did. I personally have to fix my character sheet on a regular basis because I keep nerfing my character by mistake without realizing it. And I mean, it's really difficult when you play a high intelligence character and you're trained in everything and you know everything and you have everything. But it's even worse when that was earlier and I didn't know how to play. So there's parts of her that are statistically not balanced. And then there are parts, or they weren't, and now they're balanced. And then there were parts of her where I just didn't understand Bard as well as I thought I did, and that's also, you know, the issue from coming from D&D 5e. Bars are very different. So, cantrip class spells, I thought they were all focus spells. So there are parts in season 1 where I'm like, I can't use Bard, I can't use Inspire Courage anymore because I'm out. I got knocked out and I came back in and I've used all my points. I can't use it anymore. When that was never point equivalent at all. That was for free. I can do it whenever. I can stop it every turn if I wanted to and do it again. Not every turn, sorry, every action if I wanted to and do it again. Like, it was one of those things. I just didn't know. And that is not, I didn't figure it out until like the end of season 1. So I played severely nerfing my character so many times. There were times I didn't realize. I was like, I'm supposed to add my charisma modifier. I could have been doing so much more damage or healing or utility.
Yeah, so it kind of sounds like, you know, kind of transitioning from D&D to Pathfinder wasn't like a horrible experience, but it was definitely a growing experience. And did I, like you were saying, you were nerfing yourself almost like at every turn because you just didn't know exactly what was going on. What are some of those differences in Bard, for example, and how would that have changed, you know, some of the decisions you made early on? Like would those changes have, like, you know, snowballed and grossly affected the way that your character is now? Also, like, is that like a thing? Like going back and like trying to like, oh, because of this one crucial thing, everything is different, or was it nothing that bad? Kind of like of a mess up because you just didn't understand how a rule worked or something.
A little bit of like a mix, I would say. I think I would have picked a different muse to start out from. So if you don't know, Pathfinder 2e bards have a thing called muses. Muses are like a starting subclass, essentially, and then you pick one and it gives you more things, and just like every other subclass would do. And I picked Maestro, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with Maestro. Maestro is a great, especially if you don't know what bards are like. I actually think Maestro is one of the easiest ones to work in because it just makes you feel like a regular super utility bard, and so it helps a lot with that. But actually, the way I play Estrella now, I would use like Enigma, which is it's like if a bard beat the shit out of a wizard and stole their book. It's and it's very much like that. It's super knowledge heavy. It's you being a storyteller, rather than Maestro being a musician that
Mhm.
makes people feel good but through vibes.
Mhm.
I would have been like I know lore, I know a whole bunch of other things. I can outsmart you and steal your social security number. You know, like one of those types of vibes.
Yeah.
Um, and that is actually more what she is. Now she's just like a high end pop star. If I have to think of like
Yeah.
what her vibes are right now. But truthfully, they're all still good. You know, it's just
Mhm.
I guess if I had to remake her with my knowledge now, I would pick Enigma
Mhm.
and totally ruin Aubrey's day. Because there's stuff Enigma can do where it's like you thought you did that, you thought you got me with a surprise, but I had a surprise for your surprise.
Surprise.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
like, I definitely really love the system. I like how unique every single character feels in the system. Like that was always my problem with 5e, where it's just like every fighter feels so similar. It feels like everyone's building them the exact same way because that's how you need to build a fighter to play a fighter. Whereas like even fighter in 2e has a bajillion ways you could build them. Do you want to be a bow fighter? Go ahead. Do you want to like I literally for fun built Captain America as a fighter just to see if I could. Like you can get a shield that you can use as a weapon and then you could become really good at brawling. Technically, at level 1, fighters are better at unarmed combat than monks are.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Mhm. I think I will say though, one of our issues early game was for the player of Dumisa. Dumisa is a barbarian, so barbarians in 2e are really cool. I like them. I like the different aspects that they can get as well. It's very like it's less like this is an angry meathead and more of like a this is a meathead with purpose. Not saying that Dumisa is not a meathead with purpose, but
Mhm. It's
that
understanding the difference between a 5e barbarian and a 2e barbarian.
yeah, and a
Mhm.
5e barbarian, they're all meatheads built for battle with flavor text. Actually, I think 5e barbarians are really fun too, like
Mhm.
especially the beast shape one. That's
Yes.
nice. Oh,
Mhm.
that's really nice, you know? Um and so like we had a lot of issues where it was like actually the barbarian is kind of meh in the beginning. You might as well just play a fighter because the fighter is actually tougher than the barbarian early game. So early game, I know that our barbarian was having a really rough time learning barbarian because early
Mm.
game in 5e, the barbarian's insane. Same thing with the monk actually.
Mhm.
Yeah, the monk low level in 5e is nuts.
Nuts. But monk low level in Pathfinder 2e is a giant learning curve because dexterity, while it matters, doesn't matter as much as strength does.
Okay.
Well, it
Actually,
really
they
depends
matter
on
the
what you want to
same.
build a bard. If you want to build like a
Yeah.
bard that is really good at grappling
Not a
and
bard, a
keeping
monk.
control, not a bard,
Same.
a monk who is really good at grappling, and like controlling, like like oh I'm gonna trip, I'm gonna grapple, things like that. Dexterity is super important. But if you just want to punch real good, strength is your best friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then and then Marrow is a nuanced monk. Okay? So they also wanted to have like things like wisdom and stuff. And that's just a Pathfinder's very good at min-maxing your stats.
Mhm.
So not good when you're new and you
Mhm.
come out of 5e and you're playing monk. That's like here's three stats you'd like, but what about these three stats that you also might like that are vastly different? So it's like
Yeah.
monk has a lot of options actually,
Mhm.
and I think that's what really confused our monk in the beginning. Of course, now everybody's like super chill and very comfortable and used to it. But
Mhm.
like just coming off of that 5e train, it's incredibly confusing. I think it was a big learning curve for everyone.
I can totally see that. In one of the campaigns that I am a player in, we're doing this exact same thing. Where next week we are going to be officially in Pathfinder, and my character was a warlock.
Mhm.
That doesn't exist in Pathfinder, not really.
Mhm.
Uh,
Really. Yeah, it's like, you could either go for a witch if you were like more of a spellcasty warlock, but if you were the hexblade, I just say go magus.
Or
See,
go
like
summoner.
yeah, and
Summoner.
like
Your chain.
I was leaning into summoner, but like we didn't even get like deep enough for my character to have really like had that connection with the warlock class, you know?
Yeah.
Because we were only like the first couple levels. So what I ended up doing is leaning back into um, kind of like how in Dungeons and Dragons your background can like inform what type of character you're actually playing. And so like I was like this like I'm this little kobold detective who's just always trying to solve mysteries, right? So
The
I'm playing an
investigator.
investigator
I
class.
love the investigator so much. I play one for I'm a part of Ballad of Seven Dice's Escaping Carcosa campaign, and I play an investigator in that. And it is so much fun. It is just such a unique class.
I'm gonna have to check that out just to see how you
Mm.
play it, because I'm loving everything that I looked up in the character builder for that class, and I'm just so excited to disrupt my game master at every twist and turn.
That's odd. Oh yeah, I enter a new room. What do I see?
Yeah.
It's great. It's investigator is a very underrated class because at first when I think I told this to Aubrey, I was like, investigator sounds like a really boring class. Why? Like, what kind of investigator am I? Am I Batman or am I like Inspector Gadget? Because then I'd rather just be the inventor. You know, like that was the vibe. And also I was like that about inventor too. I'm like inventor, but alchemist is right there. What's the point? What's the difference?
Yeah.
Now I know the difference. But like just right off the gate, investigator is an underrated class for sure.
I'm really excited to play one, so this is going to be a ton of fun. My first Pathfinder character as well. So, well, second technically. I played like a little intro box character where I was, I think my name was like Jarvis is an elf, and I was like just like an elf ranger, like like just shooting bow, kind of thing. Not really knowing the difference in any of the classes yet for Pathfinder, so it's gonna be so much fun. But Investifighter, Dusty, what is an Investifighter?
It was because for Blood of Kings we use a variant rule called a free archetype. So like rather than like straight up multi-classing like there is in 5e, you take these things called archetypes, and they let you access bits and pieces of the classes. So essentially how the free archetype works is whenever they would gain a class feat, they also gain an archetype feat that they can spend on any of the archetypes. So like we've created like the Bard Summoner, and like Joanna was an Investifighter for a little bit.
That's really cool.
Like
Batman.
Marrow is
Joanna was Batman's build essentially, except instead of throwing hands, Joanna used a shield and a sword or machete. And Joanna's shield work is, I just want to point out, Pathfinder 2e actually makes the shield really nice. So I would highly recommend investing in a shield character. Like if you're interested in the shield, I would point to 2e. 2e has so many different things you can do with the shield, actually. And so many shields to buy. There are some really dope shields out there. I think not Joanna's. Atalanta has a shield with a lion face on it, and it does a few things. But that's just a cool visual alone, okay? Lion-headed shield.
Cool shield. So, are there any other variant or homebrew rules that you use in your game that maybe people don't know about?
I have actually also started to introduce the dual class like variant feat that's like it's in the game mastery guide, so it's like official, like there's rules for it. But it is as the party starts to ascend to godhood, they dual class.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, right so full Joanna's a full like fighter magus now.
Mm-hmm. I play with the dual class variant on a different podcast that is also Pathfinder 2e. No episodes out yet. We're very new, but it's actually a Star Wars based one. It's called An Unwavering Force. Dusty is the
I'm
main
all about
showrunner for
this.
that.
Yes.
I'll send you a link afterwards, but I highly recommend y'all look at Unwavering Force up at Twitter. And Dusty allowed us to be as badass as possible. And I personally don't know shit about Star Wars. Like I know basic stuff, but I it's not my fandom, you know.
Mhm.
So I am playing a ridiculous mishmash of gunslinger, summoner, and then I'm also a fighter. Um, and when I tell you do like dual classing early, so ridiculous. Can you imagine ranged attack of opportunity? I'm gonna get that real soon, like
Yeah.
next level,
Yeah.
where it can apply to me, and I have a giant dog that can just run you down. You'll like never escape. Once I reach a certain level, I'll become a one man army on my own. I mean, Dusty will obviously destroy me with like I don't know, Darth Vader's fart or some shit. But like it's just like being that epic dual classing definitely has like a really cool feel, and I can only imagine how powerful you'll feel when you're at a higher level, like in Bach.
Yeah.
I'm
'Cause, I mean,
not I'm not there yet. I haven't
they're like
touched
15.
it.
They're
Yeah, we're
like
like
level 15.
yeah, we're almost 20. We're on our path to 20. So it
Okay.
should be like the people who do have it, they probably feel hella powerful, and I hope you do. Pathfinder 2e is really good at just making you feel powerful based on it
Mhm.
alone.
Do you want to hit the enemy for over 200 damage? Go for
Mhm.
it.
I did.
Nice.
Mhm.
That's
And then
awesome.
I also use the critical hit and critical fail cards.
Those are really fun.
Oh, cool.
Mhm.
Except for
Can
that
you?
one time.
There
Uh-oh.
are instant kill cards. That is the problem. So I have come up with some homebrew rules to being like, I'm just gonna knock you down to like dying 2 with this card rather than just kill you outright,
Yeah.
because that doesn't seem fair. Because Tick, your rolls are horrible.
Can you explain those cards a little bit? I'm
Uh-huh.
not super
Yeah.
familiar with them, but I think I have an idea about them.
Mhm. Yeah, so Pathfinder does have like these official like critical hit, critical miss cards. And it essentially is Pathfinder critical hits work a little bit differently. Critical hits, they are 10 above the DC or like a natural 20 or something, because and then it counts as a critical hit. So critical hit, you draw a critical hit card. It's like, okay, is this a slashing, piercing, bludgeoning, unarmed magic attack? This is the effect. This is what it does. Like it can be something as simple as the opponent drops the weapon they're holding. They are going to take bleed damage for 1d4 turns, or triple damage, or it could be they take triple damage and they must make a fortitude save, and if they do not make the fortitude save, they are dead.
Oh, dang.
Yeah,
Mhm.
there's just straight up you're dead.
Yeah,
Could...
they have fun names too to make sense, like for flavor text. Like it's like crushed windpipe.
Mm-hmm.
Like that would
Ooh,
be the
okay.
name of one. Or magical mishap, when you critically fail and your spell blows up in your face, and then if you fail the fortitude save, you kill yourself by mistake, because you blew up,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
You can
like
also
stuff
just
like
straight
that.
up send somebody to like a plane through like a different plane from one of the effects or something.
Yeah.
I think they did yeet someone out of existence because they just got sent to a random material plane. We're like, we'll never see that person again. Bye.
Yeah,
Yep.
I
See
know
you
that.
later.
Yeah, I know that one that I drew. I was able to slap every single like status effect on them. They were like confused. They were blinded. They were paralyzed. They were also stunned outside of the paralyzed. They were this. They were that. Like just
Yeah,
off of my crit.
conditions are something that people should definitely like. They are super important in Pathfinder, and how it works is like, because that'll reduce all of their saves, their AC, their damage. So like conditions are super worth using.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Pathfinder 2e makes utility feel like really good.
Mm-hmm.
I used to go rounds like early game where I never did any damage whatsoever, but I can buff like my party, and debuff the enemy at a ridiculous rate. And I can stack the conditions. I can stack certain status bonuses because my bonuses will be different from what the players can offer the bonuses themselves. So ours stack. So instead of +1, we got a +3 going. So I don't know. I feel very, very useful as a bard.
Okay. No,
Like
that's
I feel
awesome.
and I feel even more useful as a utility support. Actually, I really, really enjoy playing a utility support. I don't even heal because we have a healer, but like when I get the damage off, it's nice. When I am imposing all these status effects, it's super nice. And then the critical hit and critical miss deck is just sometimes it just stacks even more, and it's
There's I think there was one time where you couldn't even see the token
because it was all
because
status effects, yeah.
Oh
And
wow.
that's the one that I was referencing. That was a
Yeah.
big token too. That was like that was all giant, and it was all covered with status effects that I had previously going on, and then me rolling a crit. My favorite critical miss though is specifically only happened to our monk, where they just keep breaking their hands.
Oh no.
they keep
And
drawing the
like, my
card if
hand is
it's broken. You can't use it until you've
yeah, you
received
can't.
like a medicine check.
So like that's it. And then they broke. I remember they broke their hand. Our cleric came, medicine checked them immediately, and then they broke their hand again. In the same thing.
So
It was so
Tick has
funny.
some of the worst dice luck I think I have ever seen.
that's funny. So with that, like, you mentioned like tokens. Are you playing in a VTT, and then is this deck just like in the VTT as well, or are you physically drawing cards for somebody else? Because I'm assuming, you know, with some of the distance that you mentioned very early on tonight, that you're playing virtually.
Yeah, we do use a VTT, and yeah, we've got the deck in there. So like, some people roll with the like with the like on the VTT, and if they do critically hit or fail, like, and it senses that it does, it'll automatically draw the card. Like if somebody gets a nat 20 or a nat 1, it'll automatically draw the card. You just press the button, and it'll tell you what you like what you get. Other times where it's like I just have it open, I hit the roll button, it pops up, it tells me. You know, I enjoy reading it out to the players.
They're very fun.
Out of curiosity, which VTT do y'all use? I love like knowing this like behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah, we started off using Roll20 back when we initially started, and then probably sometime around the end of season 1, beginning of season 2, I got a Foundry license.
Okay.
So we've been using Foundry ever since then, and Foundry has an amazing Pathfinder 2e module.
Yeah, and the UI for Pathfinder and Foundry is fantastic. I can say that I enjoy it more than Roll20, and I've been using Roll20 for like 5 years now, so I totally get it. Awesome. I love, like, you know, talking shop.
Yeah.
That's why I think before we were on air, I was even asking like if you have been using like Sirenscape or something. I think you mentioned a different service.
I when I initially started doing music, I started using tabletop audio, which is really good stuff. But because one of the other things I do is I work on, the technical director over at Queen's Court Games, and I'm helping them remaster their show, The All Night Society, and they have an Epidemic Sound and account. So I started using that to get music for theirs, and then I just enjoyed the utility of it so much that I just turned to the G&G crew and I was like, I'm doing this. We're getting this. We're using this. We're paying for this license because it is worth it if you can afford it. It is like, it's like $15 a month kind of thing. It's like the same as like a Netflix subscription. You know, you get access to this music, and especially if you're creating content and doing things like that, it is worth it, you know, because you can just use that music to like level up what you're doing.
Yeah. Do you know if you can pipe it into OBS by chance?
You should be able to, because like you're just downloading like the MP3 or WAV files from
Oh, okay.
Epidemic. Yeah, you
Got
just
it.
whatever you like, you download and you have it on your computer. It's just like encoded with like a license, so that
Mhm.
if you use it on somewhere, like Epidemic themselves knows, okay, that's the Twitch channel, that's the YouTube channel that's linked to this license. That they're fine. They
Got
won't get
it.
any copyright strikes or anything.
That's really cool, and I
Mhm.
will love to get that link later as well.
I can send you our affiliate link, and you'll get like a little bit of discount. We'll get a bit of a discount. It's just
Oh,
like
awesome! Yeah, let's
yeah.
totally do that. And unfortunately, I'm looking at the clock right now, and we are at 8:52, which I always want to leave some time for everybody to be able to, you know, talk about all your projects, anything else you want to get out there in the world. So I guess, Aki, where can people find you on the tubes that are the internet? And what would you like to kind of plug?
Okay, hello. I am Aki or Akino if you're feeling fancy, and you can find me all over the Twitterverse at Akinomi_art, where I do two emphasis on too many things. No emphasis on many, not two. God, that just sounds like I'm doing two specific things. Emphasis on many. I'm doing many things. I am I am one of three co-producers here on Goblets and Gaze and on Magiri. But you can also catch me on other podcasts such as at Unwavering Force. That is the 2E Star Wars based one. Come check us out. Keep following us for all the extra hype content. I'm playing a trash man. And you can also find me on Bring Your Own Mech and The City That Never Dies, Clever Corvids Productions. And in terms of streams, I'm on Wayward Arcadium. We're still on our summer break. Summer break? Winter break? Winter break. It's a winter break.
We're in a
A
break. Yeah,
Yeah.
hiatus of sorts.
yeah,
Yeah, we're
between
still on our
seasons.
yeah, and that's over at the Nat 20 Productions channel. And on Wednesdays, you can catch me over at the Mandy's channel where I am playing 5e once again. It's been like 3 years. I am a bunny bard necromancer over on Miss Loss, and not this Friday, but for the next 3 Fridays after this week over at Bad House RPG, I'm running Vampire the Masquerade at Toronto by Night, where I'm just scaring the shit out of people. That's it. That's
That's
the
awesome.
whole game. Yeah, it's a ready or not style, stuck in a hotel type of vibe, except you're all vampires, and I threw in something that is far worse. Other than that, I think that's all the things I'm in right now.
You're not busy at all. Are you taking commissions? I saw you do some art.
Yes, I do art. I am taking commissions. Right now, I have some cheaper emergency commissions open, but if you want like full body art, character art, or party art, I specialize in those especially. My regular commissions are open. So yeah, there are those things. Just go check me out there. I'll retweet my commission link again.
Yeah, no, we'll get that all retweeted. We'll get it going on the ATOD Twitter account and everything. Love showing support to friends of the channel and everything. So if we can send some people your way to get some art done, hell yeah. Aubrey, how about you? Where can we find you on the internet?
Yeah. I am also. You can find me pretty much everywhere on all the social media sites at Mad Queen Cosplay. And I am the co-producer, editor, GM of Goblets and Gaze, but I'm also the technical director over at Queen's Court Games. Who they do the All Night Society, a Vampire the Masquerade show, and I'm part of a lot of just their other stuff. Like you can see me on Dying Fields that just finished airing a few weeks ago. I've played in a lot of Delta Green games, a Kids on Bikes game. I've got some other fun projects down the pipeline for them. Like I'm going to be running some Pathfinder for them in the future. You can also catch me over on Bring Your Own Mech as Sawyer, the space lesbian princess on the run from a lot of things.
That's awesome.
And you can. I'm also a part of the Pathfinder campaign for Escaping Carcosa, which is the new show from Ballad of the Seven Dice, which is a dual campaign show. One half of it is Call of Cthulhu, and the other half is Pathfinder. I play part of the Pathfinder group. We are stuck in a virtual MMO that is a death game, and we are trying to get out. And the
Oh,
people
I
on the
love that
Cthulhu,
so
the
much.
Call of Cthulhu team are like they're in the real world trying to figure out what's going on and get them out. And I always love that. Like I play investigator on that. My character Ryan, and then there's a character in the Call of Cthulhu game, Fable, who is my character's partner in the real life outside of the game. So they have
Cool.
they're very invested interest in getting me out of the game.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
Mhm.
Wow. We have to get you on this channel somehow as a guest, some way. I think if y'all are interested in Avatar, we were thinking of maybe doing like a one shot of Avatar soon. We know like it's like the new hotness, but everybody on the channel has been like a long-time Avatar fan. Like I think God's Envy in the chat, that's Omar. He like reads all the novels, he's like watched all the shows, all the comics. He is Mr. Avatar, so he'll be running some stuff in the near future, and I'm sure he would love to have you on. And it'd be great because I've had such a great evening with the both of you, and I've had such fun listening to the show. You got a new fan here, so congratulations on that one. I love being able to share that, and I'll tell everybody about it too from the mountaintops. You can see I put it on the layout for tonight, everybody, at twitter.com/goblets and gays. Give them a follow, listen to the show, enjoy it, laugh with them, cry with them, ? Eat donuts with them, everything. It's such a such a great time, and both of you have been such an amazing set of guests for this evening. Hope you've had fun talking about all your stuff, and hope to see you on the channel soon.
Yeah.
Cry and eat donuts. Yes.
Yes, Dusty. Yes.
So I guess with that, we're gonna raid somebody and get the heck out of here. Thank you again.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun. I always love talking about things like this. It's always really fun to be able to step back from being a GM and being like, I want to talk about all the cool things I do.
Right?
I really only want to talk about it, so this is good for me. My brain rot.
Yeah, I feel like it's like a GM type thing sometimes, where it's like, and it's like part of the reason I wanted to do this show. Like I really was like, this is the frame. Like I want to get into like the nitty gritty details and stuff.
And I mean, I'm working on a because campaign 2 for Goblets and Gays eventually in the future is going to be in a different setting that I've been working on for like the last year or so. So I cannot wait to actually unveil that.
Ah, that's so awesome. And you heard it here first, everybody, hopefully. So with that, let's go raid Amateurish Productions. Have a good night, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Excellent.
And this is